people are constantly raising the bar.
Sacrifices need to be made.
What would you guys say are your biggest weaknesses?
You are your enemy right now.
Is success a lie?
Just a fucking podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to Student Status. This week I'm speaking to Phoebe Smith. She is a nutritionist from Auckland, New Zealand. Phoebe, how did you become a nutritionist and why?
So pretty much when I was at high school, I was trying to think, what did I knew I wanted to go to uni. I loved food. I was very fascinated by the human body, and I was really quite good at my sciences as well. My nana was actually a nutritionist herself, so then she told me a little bit about what she did when she was younger, and then I kind of got interested from there. And then pretty much from year 11, I knew that I wanted to go to uni and study nutrition, and I'm so glad I did. It was amazing. Pretty much now I finished uni 2 years ago, and I'm now working in a private nutrition clinic called Feel Fresh Nutrition. So we're located in Movement Lab on Surrey Crescent in Great Lynn. And so we pretty much see clients one-on-one for a whole lot of reasons, whether it be like weight loss, gut health, nutrient deficiencies, specialty diets, and so on and so on. And pretty much we work with them to help them make positive changes to their diet and lifestyle in order for them to reach their goals. And it's awesome. It's such like a rewarding and motivating job. It's amazing.
I feel like it's something like exercise. It's so stressed. Like you must exercise. Nutrition, it's still stressed, but I feel like people don't really realize how much it can affect your whole life. Like, have you seen sort of what are the sort of like turnarounds that you've seen? Like obviously don't mention names of clients, but like the sort of impacts that it can have on someone's life.
It's amazing. It's becoming like a really growing field at the moment, and people just like the most simple changes, and you can turn around someone's whole life. Like you got more energy, you feel healthier overall, your blood results look good, you're nourishing your body with all these like amazing foods, and you can see the results instantly. So we see amazing transformation challenges from like people that come in and want to lose weight. We can get people losing around 20 kgs. I've seen in the clinic, which is insane. Energy levels skyrocket, which is amazing, and lots of like gut health issues. So people come in and they think that it's normal to like have these digestive issues and stuff like that, but it's not. And like opening up to this, like how food can change this is, it's amazing.
It's always like, it's sort of, I feel like for a lot of people who don't know much about it, and I still, like I try to do my research, but it's like, it's hard to know how certain things can really affect you. Like when it comes to like things like your gut health, that's something I didn't even think about 2 to 3 years ago. How much of a role does that play, and like how do you sort of maximize and make your gut health like good and like
So pretty much I personally think your overall health is so linked to your gut health. Okay, so like for example, let's look at the connection between your gut health and your mood. It's insane. So we've got like an enteric nervous system inside our gut. And this is kind of like the central nervous system, but our gut central nervous system. And this is connected to our central nervous system in our brain. And like, for example, when we feel nervous, we get that butterfly feeling in our stomach, right?
Yeah.
It's then linked so much more than this. Like if your gut health is out of whack, it can be linked to anxiety, depression, how you feel, your energy, your weight, everything, skin issues. It's crazy. So, through food, you can completely turn around your gut health.
I've definitely found like, as I started to like clean up my diet, I noticed like, 'cause I used to get really bad acne, like around sort of my like chin and like neck area. And then when I used to take whey protein. When I cut out whey protein and I like tried to lower my dairy and I just tried to like do all these different things, I noticed it slowly started to go away. How much of an effect, like, because a lot of like students have a lot of pimples and like they hate having pimples. Is there any like sort of like bad foods for pimples? Like, is it oily pizza? Is it like dairy? Is it like different for everyone? Like, what is your sort of thoughts on that?
So it is definitely different for everyone. Everyone has different triggers, but a big link when it comes to like your skin health is definitely sugar is a huge one, and generally refined and processed foods. This kind of causes like inflammation throughout the body, which then kind of wreaks havoc on our skin. It's also kind of linked to nutrient deficiencies as well. So if you're not getting enough of those kind of like amazing omega-3 fatty acids and stuff like that, which are amazing for our skin health, and that's when kind of issues can arise. And then also depending on the person, but some people don't react well with like dairy and gluten, and it may not be cutting it out completely, but it just might be choosing the right types. And then also having them in moderation as well. So it totally does depend on the person, but there's a huge link between food and your skin.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I feel like it has so many other impacts that we wouldn't even like realize. Like you just think, oh, fat and muscle, but it's like, I feel like it goes so much more than that.
Yeah, and it's not until you kind of like have an issue come up, whether it be like pimples or you suddenly starting getting really bad cramps in your stomach and stuff like that, that you then think about the food. So yeah, it's really good to get down to the root cause of it.
And what about when it comes to things like sort of myths and misconceptions? Because I read this book, the War Against Sugar or something by Gary Taubes, and the thing is, I've heard so many good things and bad things about that book, and it's so hard to figure out what, like, if the book is like completely sugar is the devil, like never touch sugar, you need zero sugar, sugar makes everyone die, or if it's like, then there's the people who like, I sort of figured out like there's like two camps, there's like the keto camp and there's like the vegan camp, and like it's so confusing because it's like, especially when you just look online from people that are just giving their personal experience. What's your sort of take on like the balance between keto, fat is God, between like sugar is fine, eat as much sugar as you want, like?
So pretty much when it comes to that kind of stuff, there is no like one perfect diet for everyone. Okay, so just like there's no one perfect diet for someone for life. The ultimate diet is going to change throughout your whole life, because when you think about it, no individual's genetic makeup is the same, nor is someone's lifestyle. So at the end of the day, a diet that's going to work for me may not necessarily work for you. But the way, like what we do know is people thrive off a natural, unprocessed, whole foods kind of diet. Everyone kind of shares that. Fat got a lot of like kind of hate previously, and it was very, very misunderstood, because it was kind of like a fat shares the same name as body fat. So everyone kind of thought it made us fat. But it's coming out now that it's actually, fat is definitely not the devil, and often sugar is, but this does not mean you have to cut out sugar out of your diet. That is no fun. We're all about kind of, a term that we like to use in the clinic is eat food like to nourish your body, and then also eat food that nourishes your soul. So for example, like when we look at kale, this is amazing for us. It nourishes our body, but when we look at sugar, it nourishes our soul. And like we love a chocolate bar from time to time, but it's just all, again, about moderation. Yeah. And when it comes to fat, everyone kind of thought fat made us fat, so everyone was kind of like, go for those low-fat food products and whatnot. But what they do is, if you remove the fat from a food, it's not going to taste very nice. So what they then do is replace it with sugar and salt, and then it becomes very, very addictive, and then that then kind of wreaks havoc on your health. Fat is definitely not the issue, and there's so many health benefits to eating fat as well.
What about like things like, because I always like, whenever I'm eating a lot of sodium, right, I always think, oh, it's okay because like I'm saunaing like 3 to 4 times a week, exercising every day. Like, and I always sort of put like that as being sodium being fine, just living it, and like I'm not drinking like salt water or something like that. Like it's like, I know I'm generally being like okay with sodium. Is there like sort of like the realities of sodium, or like?
So salt is in moderation is, again, totally fine. You want to avoid those really like processed and refined foods with lots of added sugar and added salt, but a little bit of like iodized salt and whatnot on your food and whatnot. If you're going for like whole foods, you're not going to be having those food products that have a whole lot of salt in it. So yeah.
It's always like, I feel like it's quite hard to figure out like where is the moderation, because like for me, I'm very in the like gym culture, and a lot of the gym culture, like a lot of people that first get into it, they're like, okay, I got to get big. So they eat 15 pizzas a day, like, and it's just they don't sort of realize that you can bulk up and like gain weight by doing it healthily. Do you have any like
absolutely
recommendations for that?
There's a big like kind of gym and bodybuilding culture that we definitely like to stay away from to a degree. Like obviously people want to build muscle, they want to get fit, they want to get strong, and you read a lot of conflicting information out there, and they think that they need to be eating like protein powder 3 times a day, bulking up on the weekends with pizza and whatnot. It doesn't work like that. There's so much more to like calories in versus calories out. And our macronutrients are all very much metabolized in the body very, very differently, and each macronutrient has a different role. So it's about kind of eating a good balance of each of the macronutrients, and then also getting a big abundance of fresh fruit and vegetables in for your micronutrients as well. Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like people always like to simplify it down to, oh, I eat X amount of calories, so I must gain weight. But it's like, I feel like you sort of got to take into account your macronutrients, which is something I don't particularly do. But like the thing is, I'm not eating 18 pizzas a day, but I'm still am like struggling to gain weight. But I don't want to compromise the health of my organs to gain weight.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it goes back to your macronutrients and your micronutrients. And if you're following like a predominantly, not all the time, a predominantly whole foods, natural, unprocessed diet, and just focusing on eating real foods, you're going to get a good balance of those macronutrients. And then if you're worried about portion sizes and whatnot, that's kind of when consulting a professional is best. Yeah.
When would you recommend someone does consult a professional? Because it's like there's so many people. Like I think my mum said she was pre-diabetic or something, and then there's like all these things where it's like I literally just had a lecture on diabetes, and it was just mind blowing, like the statistics. Like it was something like if diabetes was a country, it would be the third most populous country in the world. Is there like sort of times when it's or like sort of signs or symptoms when you would say like, okay, you should probably go see a nutritionist?
There's definitely signs and symptoms. So I would definitely use, when it comes to something like type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular disease or something like that, if you can get your like blood tests done at the doctors firstly. But if you're, a good way to kind of actually judge is if your kind of waist circumference, your gut sticks out further than your nose. So if you were to walk to a wall and your stomach hits the wall before your nose does, that's a good sign that some health issues are probably arising inside you without knowing, and consulting a health professional would be a really, really good idea. But you can tell by like the way that you feel in general. If you wake up and you don't feel energized to kind of start the day and stuff like that, that's a good sign that maybe your nutrition is a little bit out of whack, or if you're experiencing digestive issues, or if you do go to the doctors and your blood results aren't great, it's a good sign.
I was reading a book by Jordan Peterson. He's like this philosophy, politics guy, but he wrote quite a good book on sort of 12 rules. It's called 12 Rules for Life. And one thing that he recommended in there that I thought was quite strange for him to recommend was to start the day, he recommended a protein fat meal, like maybe an omelet, something like that. What would your sort of like good breakfast be? Would it be that, or would it include carbs, or what would sort of be?
Yeah, so pretty much when it comes, let's kind of dive into the macronutrients a little bit here. So like when it comes to your macronutrients, you've got carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Your carbohydrates, they offer really easily accessible energy source and supply dietary fiber for a healthy gut. So we need them, but when it comes to when we need them is normally around exercise. So the amount of carbohydrates you eat kind of depends on your activity level. Whereas protein and fat, they are absolutely essential, okay? So that's probably why he recommended having a good protein source and a good fat source with your breakfast. So I would totally recommend that as well. So, for example, we could go like eggs with some avocado and some vegetables in there. If you were exercising at like lunchtime or after breakfast, I would recommend putting a little bit of carbohydrate in your breakfast as well. So whether that be a piece of toast or some roast vegetables or something like that.
Yeah. I always find, do you know, you might have heard of Joe Rogan. He's like very, very pro keto. That's like his thing. And he's sort of like not anti-carbs, but he's like anti-processed carbs. He literally hates pasta, hates toast, etc. Do you have any sort of opinions on that sort of thing? Because I always think that's quite like, it's quite weird. Like it's hard for me to understand the line between that and fruit. Like
for sure. So there's like the ketogenic diet is becoming a very, very popular diet. We get loads of people coming into the clinic like wanting to kind of go down that path, which is awesome, and it totally does work for some people. So with the ketogenic diet, it's about you start burning your fat stores rather than burning your glycogen and glucose or your glucose stores. So when we eat lots of carbohydrates and we then go to do exercise, we're going to be using that readily available fuel source, which is going to be that glucose or that carbohydrate that we just ate, instead of burning our fat stores. And the ketogenic diet kind of goes about, if you're not eating it, you're going to be opting for the burning your fat stores instead, which people really like the idea of. It can be quite hard to get into a ketogenic state though, and it can become quite restrictive. So I personally think it totally depends on what you can stick to, what you enjoy, and what is sustainable in the long term. And I'm not a big fan of kind of restricting any food groups personally, but some people are. So yeah, it does kind of come down to the person. But there's benefits to going down the ketogenic path, but then there's also benefits to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates have got lots of amazing roles in the body as well. So yeah.
I definitely find like pre-exercise for me, I feel the best when I've had even like sugar. When I've had like cereal or something like that, like I feel like I can perform the best like that. What would sort of be your like post and pre-workout exercise recommendations?
So pretty much with pre-workout, we want to effectively fuel our body with good nutrition. So we kind of feel really good. We can maximize our workouts. We can recover faster after the exercise as well. And so when it comes to carbohydrates, so your three macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrate, all play an important role in your pre-workout nutrition. Think of carbohydrate as like the energy source, but you want to have like a nice stable energy source. If you go for like simple carbohydrates like sugary cereal or white bread or something like that, you're going to get this big energy spike, but then you're going to get this big energy dip. Whereas if you go for more of your kind of complex carbohydrates like potato, kumara, rice, quinoa, that sort of thing, oats, you're going to get this nice sustained energy source, which is going to fuel you a lot more effectively throughout your workout. So I would say before your workout, having a complex carbohydrate source. Protein before your workout as well is actually really good. So consuming a source of protein pre-workout will assist in increased amino acids, which is your kind of building blocks of your muscles. So it increases the amino acid delivery and uptake by your muscles during the training session, which then helps you to build your muscles and make them recover a lot faster. And then if you're going for like a long run or something like that, more aerobic type exercise, your fats are quite good to have beforehand. This is when we kind of go on that aerobic exercise. We want it wants a slow releasing energy source, which is more fat, whereas carbohydrates quite good for your high intensity exercise where you want like a quick boost of energy. Oh yeah,
so like I always find, like I've always seen a lot of articles about like runners eating like super high fat. Is it that like straight up, or like I feel like they need to, it's more, it should be more like I feel like there would be a trap of thinking, okay, I'm just lifting weights, only carbs, or I am just running, all I need is fat, like sort of thing, and like thinking you just need that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot more complex than that. Yeah, definitely a lot more complex than that.
What about when it comes to like this whole like, because in the whole like bodybuilding culture world, there's this whole like obsession with getting like 3 billion grams of protein a day, and like is there a sort of like recommendation or like number you would recommend?
But a general rule of thumb would be around 1.8 to 2 grams of protein per body weight. So for example, if you weigh 60 kgs, it'd be like 1.8 times 60, and that would be how much you should be consuming.
Because I see a lot of people saying like, quite high amounts, and it's always like, I feel like they sort of overdo it. Like I always hear of these people. There's this one person in my class who tells me their flatmates will wake up in the middle of the night, have a protein shake, then go back to bed. And I just think like stuff like that. I'm just that like they're a sailor, so I think they need tons of calories, but I just think it's sort of overkill in a way, and I think it's just
they're definitely overdoing it there, and it's totally unnecessary. And who wants to have a protein shake right before they go to sleep? That's cool. No one wants to do that. General rule of thumb is around 1.8 to 2 grams per kg of body weight. And then if you are doing, like if you're going down like the bodybuilding way, I would just consult a health professional.
And just like double check. What about when it comes to like, because I don't know where I heard it, but I heard someone say like, you want to generally start with, I don't know what macronutrient it was, but they said like, oh, you generally want more of this in the morning than more of this at night. Like, is there sort of like, before you go to bed, would you recommend like a carby meal, a pro-fat meal, or what sort of, like, would that matter, or like?
It doesn't. It wouldn't have an effect too much. Some of your macronutrients and whatnot can influence your sleep a little bit. So like carbohydrate and stuff like kind of heavy carbohydrate meals, they do make us feel quite sleepy. So it's like more your complex carbohydrate type. So it's kind of a good one if you struggle to get to sleep. You kind of have a slightly carb heavy meal, then it can help you sleep better. Whereas your protein and your fat, they give us kind of like this sustained energy source. It make us feel quite alert and awake. So I guess it would totally depend on what you are trying to achieve, I guess.
And sort of like, I feel like a lot of it, would you say like a lot of it is quite like specific to the person? Like I feel like you can't make blanket statements.
Yeah, you can't make a blank statement. There's no one approach to nutrition. So that's why it's very frustrating when people come in to the clinic and they're like, I read this on this site, or I read this in this magazine. Yeah. You have to be so careful with what you're reading out there, because anyone can say anything, and what works for them is not necessarily going to work for you, because their genetic makeup and their lifestyle is completely different to yours. Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of the danger, or like one of the major issues with the whole like camp keto and camp high carb vegan sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, there's benefits to both. And I was actually reading this research article recently, and it was really interesting. It looked at like all of these different diets, and the final result was that people saw the best results from whatever diet they could follow. So it sounds kind of silly, but whatever you can actually follow easily and that you enjoy and that is sustainable in the long term is the one that's going to see the best results. So people lost weight on all of the different diets, but some people didn't lose weight on, let's say, low carb, high fat, because they found it really hard to do. They did lose weight on high carb, low fat, because they found that really easy to do. Yeah.
Like it's always quite like hard to figure out like when cheat meals and when is like the unhealthy McDonald's sort of meal, like when is that fine? Like, what's your, like, do you have any sort of guidelines or like recommendations for people who really crave like that Macca's or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. So we are really not big fans of like the word cheat meal and stuff like that. We don't like, we don't believe that it is healthy to kind of restrict yourself during, like lots of people kind of choose like Saturday, Sunday to be their cheat day or whatever. Yeah. So they restrict themselves and they're following this very restrictive diet throughout the week, and then at the end of the week they're like, oh my God, yes, like I can eat whatever I want. Yeah. And they go absolutely crazy and binge out on McDonald's and pizza and all this kind of stuff, and it makes them feel absolutely crap, and then they do it again, and it's just kind of this really vicious cycle. But we don't like to have, like, if you're going to like a birthday party or something on a Wednesday night, you should be able to and go out and enjoy a dessert with your friends and it not be an issue, and just be able to wake up the next day and get straight back on the bandwagon. Yeah. Whereas if you have these like set days, which is like Saturday is cheat day, and you're going to be restricting yourself so much and during the week that you can't enjoy that, and then it results in like a very negative relationship with food, which we really want to avoid. So my biggest advice to people that like have lots of cravings and they feel like they eat a sugary or processed food or something like that, and they feel really guilty afterwards, and they're following this very vicious cycle, my advice to you is really practice mindful and kind of intuitive eating. Really listen to your body. Our body is such a great tool, but because of the very chaotic lifestyles we live, we often forget to kind of listen to it. So, and our body tells us when we're hungry and when we're full. And what a big thing is we get a lot of emotional eaters coming in, and they are feeling stressed or sad or bored or something like that, and they have this big craving for something sugary, normally like those kind of comfort foods, which is totally okay, but we often use food as kind of a way to deal with that emotion. Whereas if we kind of just slow it down and pause and listen to our bodies and ask ourselves, are we physically hungry or are we emotionally hungry? Often enough, it will be an emotion driving the kind of reach towards that food. So having like that pause effect and just asking and checking in with yourself and seeing if there's something else that you can do to resolve that emotion without the use of food is always a good idea. And enjoy food. Know that there's foods out there that nourish the soul and nourish the body, and it's totally okay if you've got a birthday party or something like that enjoy dessert with your friends, but when you wake up the next day, start your day with another nourishing kind of breakfast and get back on the bandwagon.
Yeah, because I feel like it can be quite emotionally taunting if you're like, okay, I'm going out with my friends, but I can't eat the cake. I can't have a glass of soda, like all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like that can sort of really just, and then I feel like, can that lead to like just binging all of a sudden?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. When we restrict it, it's people following very restrictive diets that they often end up binging on food because they restrict themselves so much. They're having these mad cravings and they're like, screw it, I'm going to have the McDonald's or whatever it is, and they'll binge out on it and they'll overeat hugely, and then they're going to feel really, really guilty afterwards, and then they're going to follow that restrictive diet again because they feel gross about themselves. But if you just kind of eat like really whole foods majority of the time, and then on those odd occasions when you do go out for dinner and stuff like that, enjoy the dessert, you're not going to have that like mad craving anymore because you're allowing yourself to have it sometimes, which is totally okay.
I feel like it's such a complicated subject, but I think it's such an important subject.
Yeah.
What would be your like final piece of advice to the general person trying to get their like nutrition in check and trying to live a healthy and balanced lifestyle?
Yeah, and my advice to you would be just eat real food that you enjoy. So think about what your grandparents used to eat. Go through the supermarket and ask yourself, would my grandparents recognize these foods that I'm putting in my trolley?
Yeah.
Your fruits, your vegetables, your meat, all those kind of your beans and legumes, those sorts of things. Our grandparents would recognize that. It's a sign that it's a real food. Your body's going to thrive off those foods. But they know that it is totally okay to enjoy your chocolate, your ice cream, whatever it is, your favorite food. Don't deprive yourself from that because that's no fun. We don't want that. That's not what food is about. Food is so much more amazing than that. So yeah, I would just say just aim to eat real food majority of the time and enjoy those kind of soul-loving foods some of the time.
Where can people find you online, and where can people find your clinic, book an appointment, all that sort of stuff?
And so Feel Fresh Nutrition we've got a website, so www.feelfreshnutrition.com, and you can contact us on there. We're a group of 4 nutritionists, and we are based in Grey Lynn on Surrey Crescent, and we're located in Movement Lab, which is kind of like a boutique sort of gym. So if you just head to our website, you can kind of find all the details from there.